10 profound life lessons from must-listen stories on the road of life. 10 unforgettable life lessons from short stories that everyone should listen to at least once on their journey to growth and self-discovery. Dear InnerLight's beloved listeners, life is unpredictable, constantly shifting and evolving. Trying to understand it all deeply and completely is no easy task, but sometimes the simplest story can hold the most powerful truth, a truth that can shape how we see the world and how we live in it. Each person walks a different path. Every experience carries its own lesson, and behind every struggle lies a unique perspective. The philosophical stories you're about to hear offer timeless wisdom, insights to human nature and meaning of life, and the kind of growth that lasts a lifetime. These short yet powerful tales are here to inspire transformation, to help you see things differently, and maybe they'll guide you closer to the kind of life you've always wanted to live. Let's start with our story number 1, Entering the World of Stars. A young American officer was assigned to a remote military base near the edge of a desert. It was hot, dry, and isolated far from the comforts of the city. Not wanting his newlywed wife to suffer in such a harsh environment, he asked her to stay behind, but she refused to. She was determined to stand by his side, no matter the circumstances. When they arrived, the military base didn't allow family members to live on site. So the officer built a small wooden house for his wife in a nearby native village. Life there was tough. Scorching summer heat, sandstorms, and massive temperature swings between day and night made every day a challenge. And to make things worse, the locals didn't speak English, which made communication nearly impossible. After a few months of struggling with daily life, the young wife felt defeated. She wrote a letter to her mother, pouring out her frustrations and sadness. At the end, she made it clear she planned to return to the city, to the life she once knew. Her mother wrote back with a simple message. There are 2 prisoners in the same cell. Both look out the same window. One sees only darkness, and the other sees the stars. Those words struck her deeply. She paused and thought, all right, it's time for me to look for the stars. From that moment on, everything changed. She stopped resisting her situation and began embracing it. She learned the local language, picked up traditional crafts like weaving and pottery, and immersed herself in the village culture. She became fascinated by the desert sky, spending her nights studying astronomy. Years later, she published a book on her research and eventually became a respected expert in the field. The story helps us learn it's not the environment that defeats you, it's your mindset. When you choose to step into the world of stars, you begin to find purpose, meaning, and resilience. So don't waste time blaming on your surroundings for holding you back. Instead, look for the light. Search for your own stars. What matters most isn't what's on the outside. It's the strength of your inner world. With the right attitude, you can overcome anything, whether it's the hardship of your surroundings or the people around you. Next up, story number 2, The Pearl with the Black Spot. One day, a fisherman hauled into his net and discovered something incredible, a large, beautiful pearl from the sea. He was overjoyed, feeling lucky to have found such a rare treasure. But as he examined the pearl more closely, he noticed a tiny black spot inside it. To him, that flaw ruined its perfection. He thought to himself, if I can just remove this black mark, the pearl will be flawless and priceless. So he took out a knife and gently scraped the surface, but the black spot was still there. He scraped again. Still it remained, layer by layer. He kept carving deeper, convinced that he was just one step away from perfection, till finally the black spot was gone, but so was the pearl. What was once a precious gem had been destroyed by his need to make it perfect. Enlightened thought. In our pursuit of perfection, we often end up destroying the very things that make life meaningful. It's human nature to want the best, to want things to be flawless, but the truth is, nothing in this world is without imperfections. Trying to erase every flaw can lead us to lose the value of what we already have. There's an old saying, when working with wood, don't throw away the whole tree just because there's a small rotten spot. People are the same. No one is perfect. If you reject someone because of a single mistake, you may end up alone. So judge less, love more. Strength and weakness always exist side by side. And the best things in life aren't necessarily perfect, but they are real. We don't love someone because they're flawless. We love them because we learn to see their flaws in a beautiful way. Moving on to story number 3. What's better, gold or mud? A wise monk once asked his student, "Tell me, what do you think is better, a lump of gold or a pile of mud?" The student answered without hesitation, "Of course, master, gold is more valuable." The monk smiled and said, "But what if you were a seed?" The story helps us learn there is no such thing as something being absolutely good or bad. The real question is, what is right for you? An eagle longs to soar in the sky, while a fish finds freedom only in the sea. Switch their environments, and what once brought life now becomes suffering. That's the way nature works. The world is vibrant because every creature finds a place where it belongs. And just like them, we humans are each unique in our own way. What works for someone else might not work for you, and that's okay. Your goal is not to chase the spotlight that fits others. Your mission is to find the light that was made just for you. In life, in work, in love, lasting happiness comes when you align yourself with what truly fits you. When you find that match, it gives you strength, purpose, and direction. Sometimes, the best choice isn't the most glamorous one. Sometimes, it's the simplest one, if you're wise enough to realize it. So don't chase trends. Don't force yourself to fit into someone else's mold. Find your soil, find your sun, and grow. The next one is story number 4. Rise is still rise. One day, a student asks his teacher, "Sir, someone say I'm a genius. Others say I'm a fool. Who's right? What kind of person am I, really?" The teacher looked at him and replied with another question. "Well, what do you think you are?" The student stood there, silent, unsure. So the teacher explained, "Let me give you an example. A bag of rice for a chef becomes a delicious pot of steamed rice. To a baker, it's turned into crispy golden rice cakes. To a winemaker, it becomes a rich, fragrant brew. But rice is still rice. Just like that, you are still you. What you become depends on how you choose to shape yourself and where you decide to put your energy. Enlightening lesson. Don't worry so much about what other people think of you. What really matters is what you do with yourself. You can't control how others see you, but you can choose who you want to become. And as you grow, remember to stay grounded. Be confident, but not arrogant. Be firm, but not inflexible. Be proud, but not prideful. Be kind, but not passive. Be contained, but never complacent. As Brad Henry once said, believe in yourself and the rest will fall into place. Work hard, stay focused, and trust in your ability. Because there is nothing you can't accomplish when you believe in who you are. Take time to discover yourself. Inside of you lies the courage, the power, the resilience, and the greatness you've been looking for all along. Our next story, number 5, a glass of water or a lake. Once there was a student who always seemed to be complaining. One day, his meditation instructor handed him a glass of water with a pinch of salt stirred in. Drink it, the instructor said. The student took a sip and instantly grimaced. It's so salty, he said. Then the instructor took the same amount of salt and threw it into a nearby lake. Now try the lake water, he told the student. The student cupped some water in his hands and tasted it. Pure and sweet, he said. The instructor smiled and said, pain is like salt. Its bitterness depends on the container you hold it in. So tell me, do you want to be a small glass of water or a vast lake? Enlightening lesson. The pain in life is inevitable, but suffering is optional. If your heart is small, even a little trouble will feel overwhelming. But if your heart is wide, full of kindness and compassion, pain won't shake you. It'll pass right through you. To be happy, we must learn to let go of the bitterness and carry ourselves with generosity and forgiveness. When your soul is rooted in kindness, life stops feeling like a burden and begins to feel calm, peaceful, and full of beauty. The ocean accepts every river, clean or muddy, because it's vast enough to embrace them all. And just like the ocean, the more open and generous your spirit, the more effortlessly you'll live in peace and joy. Moving on to story number 6, the PhD and the pond. A newly hired researcher with a PhD was assigned to a science institute. He held the highest academic title among the staff. One afternoon, he went out to a small pond behind the facility to fish. Coincidentally, the director and the vice director were also there, fishing on either side of him. The PhD nodded politely but said nothing. Why bother talking to them, he thought. They didn't even graduate from college. What would we have in common? After a while, the director stood up, stretched his legs, and casually walked across the pond to use the restroom on the other side. The PhD's eyes widened. Did he just walk on water? A few minutes later, the director returned the same way, walking smoothly back across the pond. The PhD was stunned, but said nothing. Surely it was just his imagination. Then the vice director stood up and did the same thing, walking calmly across the surface of the pond to the other side. At this point, the PhD was in complete disbelief. What is this place? Some secret training ground for martial arts masters? Eventually, the PhD really had to use the restroom, but the only way across was to walk or take a long 10-minute detour around the pond. He thought to himself, if those guys without degrees can walk on water, surely I can too. He stood up, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the pond. Splash! He fell straight in. The two directors rushed over and helped him out. Why didn't you just ask us how we crossed? They said. The PhD asked, shivering. How did you do it? Is it some kind of technique? They both laughed. There are wooden planks just under the surface. One of them said they've been there for years, but after recent rain, they've submerged. We've walked this pond 100 times. All you had to do was ask. Enlightening lessons. Degrees and diplomas reflect your past. What really matters is your ability to learn, adapt, and grow in the present. No matter how smart you are, if you stop asking questions and ignore the experience of others, you'll fall behind. Worse, you might miss simple solutions hiding in plain sight. Knowledge isn't power unless it's shared, tested, and refreshed. And in any team, it's not just talent that counts. It's humility, openness, and the willingness to keep learning from everyone around you. Our next story, number 7, The House You Build. Once there was an old carpenter who was ready to retire. He told his boss he wanted to leave the construction business to spend more time with his wife and children. His boss was sad to see such a skilled worker go and asked for one last favor. Would you build just one more house for me? The carpenter agreed, but over time it was clear the carpenter's heart wasn't in it. He cut corners, used cheap materials, and rushed the job. When the house was finally finished, the boss handed the carpenter the keys and said, "This house is my gift for you." The carpenter stood there in shock. He didn't know what to say. If he had known he was building his own house, he never would have built it that way. Now, he would have to live in the very house he built carelessly. Enlightening lesson. We're all carpenters. And every day, we build our own lives through the choices we make, the effort we give, the care we put in. Too often, we go through the motions. We put off doing the best until it really matters. But by the time we realize what we have built, we're already living in it. Think of your life as a house. Each word you speak is a nail. Each action is a board. Each decision a wall. Are you building something strong and beautiful, or something rushed and regretful? There are no redos. There's no tearing down and starting from scratch. Even if you only had one day to live, make it count. Build with care, with love, with purpose, because the life you're building is the one you had to live in. Moving on to story number 8. What's the most precious thing in life? Two wise men once sat together and asked the question, what's the most precious thing in the world? They talked for a long time. One said, "Is what we've never had." The other replied, "No, it's what we had once but lost." Years later, they met again, older, wiser, changed by life, they asked the same question. But this time, both of them answered differently. The most precious thing, they said, is what we have right now. Enlightened lesson. We spend so much of our lives looking backward with regret or forward with longing that we forget the value of the present moment. We mourn what we lost, we chase what we don't have, and in the process, we overlook the one thing that's truly real, what's right in front of us. As a Japanese author, Nosaka Akiyuki once said, "Cherish today, cherish the present. No one knows what tomorrow will bring." When you learn to value the moment you're in, time itself becomes a source of joy. And when you taste the sweetness of now, the future begins to look brighter, and the past stops holding you back. So breathe, feel, appreciate. The most precious thing in your life might already be in your hands. Next up, story number 9. True honor comes from character. During the time of the Three Kingdoms, there lived a writer named Kuan Ning. Later in life, he left public service and moved to the mountains, seeking peace. In his village, there was only one well, and getting water from it wasn't easy. People often argued, sometimes even fought, just for a turn. Seeing this, Kuan Ning felt deeply saddened. Quietly, he spent his own money to buy dozens of water containers. He filled them with fresh water and placed them by the well, free for everyone to use. At first, the villagers were shocked. Who would do such a thing? Eventually, they discovered it was Kuan Ning. Moved by his kindness, the argument stopped. People began to live in harmony. Another time, a neighbor's ox wandered into Kuan Ning's field and destroyed all his crops. But instead of chasing it away, he worried it would hurt or go hungry. So he led it into a shaded spot, gave it water, and fed it better than its own owner might have. When the neighbor finally found his ox, he was overwhelmed with guilt and gratitude. Kuan Ning's quiet humility and kindness touched everyone. He didn't preach, he led by example, and slowly the people around him began to live with greater honor and compassion. Enlightening lesson. True success, wealth, and reputation come from character. Just like wild flowers growing on untouched mountain slopes, neutral by nature, rooted deep, and built to last. But if you gain power through cruelty and deceit, it's like placing cut flowers in a vase. They might look beautiful for a moment, but they won't last. Because without roots, nothing can truly grow. Now we're on to our last, but definitely not least, story number 10. The power of having a goal. A group of researchers once conducted a fascinating experiment. They divided people into 3 groups and asked them to walk to a village 10 kilometers away. The first group was told nothing, not the name of the village, not the distance. They simply had to follow directions. After just a few kilometers, people started to complain. Halfway through, many grew angry and frustrated. Some even sat down and refused to go on. The second group was told where they were going and how far, but there were no signs or markers along the way. They had to guess how far they had come and how far they still had to go. Midway through the journey, most people were drained and unsure. Some estimated, others guessed. When someone said, "We're nearly there," it lifted spirits, but the uncertainty still weighed on them. The third group knew everything: the destination, the distance, and best of all, they had milestone markers at every kilometer. With each marker, the journey felt shorter. They cheered, sang, and laughed together along the way. Even though the path was the same, their energy stayed high, and they reached the destination quickly with joy. Enlightened lesson: goals aren't just about the outcome. They give us purpose, momentum, and meaning along the journey. As someone once said, it's not what the goal is what matters most. It's that you have won. Without a goal, you lose your way. You lose drive. You lose the spark that pushed you towards. Psychologist Ken Norman put it perfectly. If you don't know where you're going, then any wind feels like the right one. But if you keep changing direction, your boat will only go in circles. When we set clear goals, track our progress, and stay focused, our motivation grows stronger even when the road gets tough. So set your sights, take the first step, and let your goal guide you to the life you meant to live. So I guess that's it. You've listened to 10 profound life lessons from must-listen stories on the road of life. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your precious time with me. I truly hope these stories brought you insight, peace, and a deeper connection with yourself. We should always remember, life is full of unexpected twists, but with the right perspective, every story, no matter how simple, can teach us something powerful. Please consider liking and sharing this video to uplift and motivate others. Also, by subscribing to our channel, we can continue this journey of growth, share life lessons, and spread goodness to the community all together. With gratitude and respect, I wish you and your loved ones happiness, success, and peace as always. We look forward to seeing you again in our next videos.